Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss things all horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectibles, and more.
I'm one of your co-hosts, Casey,
And I'm Sam.
and let's get
get
screaming.
screaming! All right. Casey, how are you doing today?
Sam, we are halfway to freaking Halloween. That's
We're
how
halfway
I'm
to
doing.
Halloween. Hell yeah.
I
Hell
don't
yeah.
know
It's
no
like,
other way to describe how else we're doing besides I'm feeling in that spooky spirit already.
yeah. I think this is like, so obviously we're spooky year round. We love horror 12 months out of the year. For me, though, like Halloween season does kind of start in April.
Yeah.
It's my birthday month. I know we're halfway to my favorite month. Like it's just one of those things where I get in the mood and it goes for about 6 months.
I'm already asking why the at-home store and Michael's doesn't have their Halloween stuff out yet. Like, what are you waiting
Yeah,
for?
yeah. Easter's over. It's the Monday after Easter when we're
There's no other
recording
holiday
this.
that matters in between now and then.
No, put it out. Get it out there.
No. To be honest, though, I'm kind of with you. Like, April is kind of like the start of spring. Snow is finally almost melted. It's 80 degrees outside, and there's still a mound of snow behind my house. But
Yeah,
that being said, I still feel like we're entering the spooky season. At least we're halfway there.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
mean, that's our topic for today, Sam. We're going to be
It is.
talking halfway to Halloween. April is the month of obviously 6 months away from October. We're going to be celebrating this. I mean, we're a little early, but I mean, it'll make
Yeah,
sense when we show what we're doing next podcast that is
yeah.
closer to the actual halfway to Halloween. But we might as well celebrate it now because we're almost there.
Hmm. Oh yeah, and I mean, especially with the month of April this year, especially, it seems like there are a lot of horror releases all hitting in April, all within pretty much a 2 week span. But
Yeah, I was gonna say we have. I think is it four horror
four in the next
releases
2 weeks.
because it's Renfield and
Pope's Exorcist,
Hope's
right?
Exorcist coming up this weekend,
And then Renfield
and then Evil Dead
or
Rise
Evil Dead
and
Rise.
Beau is
Beau is
Afraid
Afraid. Yeah,
opening
the new
the weekend
Aster.
after.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
is a stacked month. I think it's appropriate that we're talking halfway to Halloween right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So how this is going to work again? Main topic, we're going to talk about that a little later. We took some audience questions on our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We asked people to send us in some questions. We got a very good response on this. We got some really fun questions in there,
Yeah.
and then Sam and I also came up with a few questions to ask one another. I don't know anything Sam's going to ask me. I don't even know what I'm going to ask Sam yet. We'll figure it out in the next hour.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a little bit of a fly by the seat of our pants episode, which is fun. I feel like it'll make for a lot of spontaneous shenanigans.
It's a shenanigans episode, everybody.
It's a
Strap in.
shenanigans episode.
Wait till you get to our recent watches. Oh boy.
We can't go wildly off topic if there is no topic.
Well, there is no
Man.
topic, but we do have a format. Let's get into that format,
Yeah.
Sam, because we don't have, a singular movie we're talking about, but we always kick things off with some seller news. I'm going to hit that music because we got a lot of news to talk about. Seller news. Here we go. First up, seller news. Boy, oh boy, am I excited for this one. Let's do a little follow-up first. I'm gonna throw this follow-up before we get to this. Okay, last episode we talked about Full Moon and we talked about Jim Wynorski's Murderbot, which
Yes.
had just released a trailer. And so I made a joke on the show and I said by the time this episode comes out, the movie will probably be out. And you were like, "What? They just released a trailer. How is it going to be out already?" Sure as shit, Charlie Band did it. I think he listens to the show.
He must.
He must. I hope he does. I love you, Charlie. But yes, it did release the exact same day that our episode dropped, Murderbot. We're going to talk about that a little later. I did watch it, but I'm going to make a prediction again, Sam. You can hold me to it. The first piece of news that we got going on here is that, again, Charlie announced this right around the same time Murderbot dropped on his on Full Circle's Full Moon Features app. He dropped the news that another demonic toy spinoff is coming called Jack Attack, which is the Jack in the Box demonic toy creature. I'm going to make a bold prediction that this will be out by the time this episode drops. If not, it'll be out before we record again. So it'll probably be talked about again a couple weeks in a row. But Jack Attack, again, Charlie showed a first image. I think I'll have fun with this. I like the demonic toy, at least the first demonic toys movie. I've never seen as you can see on the screen if you're watching along with us on YouTube. To the right of Jack Attack, there's a Baby Oopsie, which they've already done a spin-off series of. I think it's 3 movies. I could be wrong. Maybe it's 1 and a TV show with 3 episodes. I don't know. There's spin-offs already to this series. The baby never did it for me, but Jack Attack, why not? It's a evil Jack in the Box. Sam, what are your thoughts on Full Moon?
I mean, you're right in the fact that you told me this week you were surprised that I wasn't more into Full Moon with the stuff that I like. And I have to admit, like the Full Moon stuff that I've watched, I really do like it because it's good, cheesy, just B-movie fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for doll movies and toy movies. And so, yeah, Jack Attack looks awesome. I've never seen any of these demonic toys movies, but I've realized that most of Full Moon just winds up on Tubi. And now I've watched enough of them to where there's it just shows up a Full Moon Features bar on my Tubi home screen now. So
I'm pretty sure there is a Full Moon channel on Tubi.
Yeah, there might be actually
that you can just click on, and most of their new stuff ends up on Tubi like a month or 2 after it shows up on their streaming service too.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I will most likely watch these as you watch them. I like watching some of the same movies as you anyways, so that we have something to talk about in our recent watches. Because as you will find out later, there's a big release that I am all about that Casey hasn't seen yet, and I'm itching to talk about it, and I can't wait till he actually watches it so that I have a sounding board to bounce off of.
That's how as soon as you watch some Full Moon, I will watch the show you were speaking of. Yeah, watch Demonic Toys. I recommend it. I think you'll have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up for the news. All right, Sam, I'm going to throw this one to you first.
Oh, okay. So I'll start by saying I have never seen Witchboard before, but apparently Chuck Russell is directing a remake of Witchboard, an old horror classic. Chuck Russell, the legendary filmmaker behind Dream Warriors and The Blob and The Mask. It's horror adjacent. Yeah, he's back in the director's chair, and I can't wait. I think that he's created 3 stone cold classics, and I love witch movies. I imagine Witchboard is a witch movie, judging on the title. And so, yeah, I couldn't be more excited to see Chuck Russell taking a crack at a witchcraft movie. I know that there will probably be some cool special effects in this. He's very, very known for his groundbreaking practical effects. So, yeah, I'm sure Witchboard's going to be awesome. What about you, Casey?
I have also never seen Witchboard. I should change that before this new one comes out. It's one of those movies that's like just always on my radar for like a horror
Hmm.
movie to watch that I've never seen before, but just have never pulled the trigger. But as far as like talking about this remake, yeah, I'm into Chuck Russell a lot. I All three of those that you mentioned, I'm a big fan of. I'm also looking up his filmography just to see what he's done as of late. He did have a movie come out this year called Paradise City, which is um, probably a straight to Redbox movie starring John Travolta and Bruce Willis.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that's fun.
so that's, I mean, a bald Travolta and a bald Willis doing a movie together. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um, I really dig Chuck Russell. I'm excited to watch this. I'm excited to watch the original just because I've never seen it. This announcement of a remake has bumped that up my watch list even further.
Yep.
And I'm just excited to see Chuck Russell come back into the horror realm
Yep.
because it's been
Absolutely.
it's been a while. From
It
looking at
has
his
been.
filmography, he hasn't done a whole lot of horror since The Blob and Dream Warriors. So it'll be nice to see him, dip his toes back into that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
All right. Speaking of classic movies you would see in the horror aisle at the video store, maybe nothing more classic to the horror store video aisle than Faces of Death. And guys, guess what? We're talking Faces of Death because we're getting a remake of Faces of Death, which I think just as we're recording this today started shooting today. And it's going to be shot on film from what I saw. That's what,
Oh,
what
really?
what I saw, and I think that's probably the best way to go about this movie here. The reason we're bringing it up further is that there is a casting announcement. Dak is it Dacre Montgomery from
Yeah. Dacker.
Stranger Things
Uh,
in the
and
Power
Power
Rangers,
Rangers.
the Red Ranger and the Power Rangers remake, just movie. I
Hmm.
don't know if it's necessarily a remake, just movie adaptation from a few
Yeah.
years ago that totally slaps.
Good
Um,
actor.
he is. And look at that guy. The picture that we have him. Nothing
Oh,
is
yeah.
cooler than that right there.
Yeah.
Maybe
He should get
Travolta. Maybe Travolta in
maybe
Greece
Bald
with the
Travolta.
cigarette hanging out of his
Yeah.
mouth. Well, this is a close second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen Faces of Death? Any of
I
them?
have not. I've heard of them. Like they
Hmm.
have a reputation for sure.
Yeah.
And I really would like to see them. I know that they're not for everybody, but it sounds pretty intriguing to me. So I don't know.
I've
I
seen
feel
the
like I'll
first.
either love or hate them.
I've
You
seen the
know?
first one. It's been a long time. I mean, they're. I think the effect of Faces of Death is probably worn out in the last,
Mm.
40 years since it came out, because it's using the mixture of real life images and video with staged images and videos.
Oh,
It's
gotcha. A
trying to
little bit
like,
like the fourth kind type of stuff.
yeah, it's just trying to like, oh, look at this grotesque thing, even though half of it's not real.
Yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying.
So I don't know how much it still holds up nowadays. It's been a while since I've watched it. I think it's cool that they're doing a remake of this. Again, I think we're gonna start seeing more and more 80s horror popping up with the success of obviously Halloween being the big one, the resurgence of Scream. I'm sure the Friday the 13th series on Peacock will do really well. So we'll keep
Oh
seeing
yeah.
stuff like this pop up. Yeah, why not? Let's go for it. Faces of Death remake. Do it.
Yeah.
Next up, we got some casting news for Ty West's third film in the MaXXXine
Pearl
trilogy.
X?
Pearl trilogy?
Yeah.
His trilogy of movies with with Mia Goth. MaXXXine obviously is going to be coming out, I believe, next year, 2024. If I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. I could be wrong. Could be this year still. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
2024.
I think so. I think it's like early 2024.
But joining Mia Goth in this cast, this is a big cast here, is Elizabeth Debicki, Michelle Monaghan, Bobby Cannavale, Lily Collins, Halsey, Giancarlo Esposito, and Kevin Bacon. Everything's better with bacon, Sam.
Everything. I love anytime we get bacon in a horror movie, so I'll take it.
Who had Kevin Bacon and Giancarlo Esposito in a Ty West movie on their bingo card for 2023?
I sure didn't. But
I mean,
that's what star making Mia Goth performance will throw at you. Because I know she didn't win an Oscar, but she was at the top of everybody's list last year.
yeah.
Like those movies made a huge splash. So I'm glad that he's actually using that clout and pulling some star power for this one. I think that's really cool. I love to see that.
Yeah. I think A24 is just kind of giving him free reign like they did the first two movies, but probably some more money this go
Yeah.
around and showing that, hey, I knocked out two movies in the same year for you that knocked him out of the park, made you a bunch of money. Let me just do whatever I want for this one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have a feeling this one's going to be maybe Ty West's biggest movie. And
Oh yeah.
I think that he's ready to rise to that and really make something cool.
Yeah, agreed. And just looking at this cast and knowing like the plot and time era, you can see where everybody's gonna fit
Oh yeah.
into.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's going to be rad.
I'm excited for some of these performances in this movie. I think Kevin Bacon will be a standout, and I think Elizabeth Debicki will be too.
Oh yeah, she's tremendous in everything she
Mm-hmm.
does.
Next up, we got some more Five Nights at Freddy's news that we talked about. Our first episode, maybe?
Yeah, I
We
think
talked
so.
about the casting of Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson. We now have a release date for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It is set to come out day and date in theaters and on Peacock October 27th. We're
Heck
halfway
yeah.
there.
That's going to be so much fun. I have not played the game since we talked about this, but I did some game watch throughs, and oh my god, it's pretty intense. It's pretty intense, especially when you get into like the sequels and stuff. There's some creepy imagery in those, and I think with Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson helming this thing, we're gonna get some pretty funny moments,
Mm-hmm.
and I really hope that's what this ends up leaning into is like the horror comedy aspect of it, because it's also a pretty ridiculous concept. It's a Willy's Wonderland concept. It's Chuck E. Cheese come to life essentially. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I don't know if I'll
Play it
check
for
it out in
laughs.
the theater. This seems like a streaming watch for me, just because I'm not already a Five Nights at Freddy's like uber
Yeah,
fan. But that being said, I think that's going to benefit this movie especially because I think fans who are really into the movie are going to be watching this first weekend, whether it's on Peacock or in theaters.
yeah,
And I think either way, that's a win-win for the studio. I think that's a big win. I think maybe this is probably the plan because this is Blumhouse as well, and this is what they did with the Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. And obviously, if those did really well on Peacock and in theaters, they're just going to probably pull the trigger on some of their big horror releases this way too.
oh yeah, absolutely. I kind of love that Peacock is kind of my streaming service in the month of October. Like I rarely use any other ones because they've got all the Universal staples. They've always got all the Chucky movies, the Universal monsters, Tremors, all of those. So like that comes around like, and for the last couple of years we've had new Halloween come out on Peacock,
Mm-hmm.
usually right before Halloween, and this to me feels like Peacock's kind of continuing that tradition of a day and date horror release around October, or like just sometime in October, specifically to kind of boost Peacock's numbers. Because I think Peacock realizes what it has in the month of October. I feel like that's the month where you hear more stuff trending on Peacock than you do elsewhere. I feel like.
Yeah, I think They really step up where some of the other streaming services really let fans down. Netflix, looking
Yeah,
at you.
yeah,
They have an awful selection of horror movies unless you're watching Stranger Things,
mhm,
which is fine, which is their I mean, it's their big money maker,
yep,
which is kind of shocking that they don't put money towards other horror on
yeah,
their streaming service because obviously it does really well. Uh, but Peacock, yeah, like you said, they have all those classic horror films from the Universal monsters to Halloween to Chucky right there at your fingertips. I think HBO Max does a pretty good job too,
yep,
just because they usually end up with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies around Halloween. I think they get some of the Universal movies on there too.
yeah. Some of the
But
Blumhouse stuff, I think, goes to HBO Max and
yeah,
that.
but they've also fumbled the ball. HBO Max has in the last year,
Yeah,
especially like they could have done this what Peacock's doing, the day and date type of stuff with some of
yep,
their horror releases, and just kind of just don't release their movies. They just like leave them on a hard drive somewhere, and that's it. And they
yep,
don't ever release the movie. Doesn't make sense to me, but what do we know?
yeah. It's hard to get excited for anything HBO Max these days because you
Yeah,
just don't know if it's even gonna come out or if it's gonna be out and you're gonna be halfway through season 3 and then they're gonna pull it.
yeah.
Oh, you, David Zaslav.
Well, let's talk about one more thing in the news here. We have some casting news for American Horror Story season 12. We're still making this show. That's the actual subtitle of this season.
Oh, yeah.
Joining a staple of the series now, Emma Roberts, is Kim Kardashian because because
Yeah. So you know how in Bates Motel, like the last season came about and there was a big casting story where they're like, oh, they cast Rihanna to play Marion Crane. And there were a whole bunch of people that were like, oh, I'm never going to watch that because of this and all that. And I thought, those people are stupid. Well, that's because Bates Motel was an actual good show. And Rihanna is Rihanna. I'm one of those people in this that's like, I'm never going to watch this. Not that I watch American Horror Story a lot, but like I have no interest in watching Kim Kardashian act. I just don't, you know?
yeah, I have fully fallen off the American Horror Story train a long time ago. Um, yeah, I was at a point through the first maybe like 6 or 7 seasons. I would watch like the first episode of the season, and none of them like ever hooked me past like season 3.
Yeah. I
There was
I
the one, I can't remember which season it was, but it was the one that opened with the presidential election.
yeah.
I think it was Cult. Was it Cult?
Yeah, I think it was called. I
And
don't
I'm
know. They
like,
all
this isn't, I don't know, this isn't for me.
So I've made it about 2 episodes for like the furthest I've made it into any of these seasons is about 2 episodes, and I usually shut it off at that point because I don't know. I don't get American Horror Story. I don't understand what people like about it.
Mhm.
If Lady Gaga couldn't get me to watch a whole season of this, Kim Kardashian definitely isn't. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you
I
know
don't
what?
know.
Good for Ryan Murphy. I'm glad that there is like one of the biggest names in TV is a queer guy who is like boosting horror to the forefront, even if it's horror I don't personally vibe with. It's cool that this show is still going. I wish it the best of luck.
Did he also do Scream Queens? That was on
Yes, he
Fox.
did Scream Queens.
I never watched that. Was that I've heard better things about that than I did American Horror Story, the later seasons.
I only watched the first season, but nitpicky things aside, I did like it a lot more than American Horror Story. I finished a whole season, that should tell you
That's
that.
good.
Um, and I didn't mind it. I still take issue with some of the cast members. I just don't like some of them. But
Is one of them on the
um,
screen?
yes, I just there are just some that I just can't get into
Yeah.
performance wise. So it's cool. Scream Queens is a little bit better. You might check it out and you might like it. And for all of you people who probably like American Horror Story, seeing as it's still on air for the 12th season, I mean no offense to you. I hope you enjoy this new season. I hope Kim Kardashian kills it for you. I just probably won't be tuning in with you.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of those shows where even fans of the series are like, we pick and choose which seasons we like.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I've
For
seen
sure.
like the first season I've watched 2 or 3 times through. I really dig that one. But again, just some of the other ones I can't get hooked on.
Yeah. I don't know. I just have a hard time with it. It's just not my style, I guess. But
It's not our bag. It's not our bag.
yeah, it's just not my bag, man.
Know what is our bag? Stuff that's going to end up in our shopping bag. Next up on Casey's Toys segue. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Uh, First up, we got some new announcements. We got some teases. We have some first looks. And we have stuff we're not going to get into falls because we suck. But first, before we get to that, first up, we got NECA has shown some new images of the Bride of Frankenstein Ultimate action figure that they will be releasing very, very soon. I like the release model for these. I think it seems to be like every 2 weeks they've been
Yeah.
releasing these monsters. I'm a couple behind on picking them up, but as you see on the image here of Bride of Frankenstein, look, that's we talked about Creature, I think
Mhm.
last time. This is, I mean, you're probably not going to
Yeah.
find a better Bride of Frankenstein action figure out there.
This is incredible. I love the sculpt work on this. I so far NECA's a lot of money, and for good reason. They're
Yeah,
quality action figures. But I just right now don't have the the means to collect all of them. This
no,
one though,
you have to
I
be picky
love
and choosy
Bride.
with these, man.
Yeah. And I love Bride, and I kind of feel like even if I don't get the rest of the Universal monsters, Bride's gonna end up on my shelf because like she's just the best.
Yeah,
And yeah, you can't argue with that sculpt. Like I love it. I love the attention to detail on the wrap around her arms and hands. Like
she
all
does
of that
come
is
with the
tremendous.
alternate head of the wrap around her head too.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Cool, cool.
Yeah, I'm all in on the black and white versions of these. I've I, again, like I said, you have to pick and choose when it comes to NECA because if you're like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to complete and get every NECA that comes out horror, it's like, good luck to you. I hope you have enough shelf space and I hope you have enough cashola in your wallet for that. But I
Yep.
even like we're going to talk about some more NECAs later. I'm like, I want them, but it's like I'm running out of shelf space and room in my wallet. But
Yep.
this is gonna, as soon as I see it in the store. I'm one that I'm also a person that I don't order stuff online. I need to find
Yeah.
this in the store.
It's always more fun that way.
Yeah. If it comes down to it, like I don't know, 6 months from now, Halloween time, and I still don't have all these black and white ones, there's Boris making a cameo.
Hey, everybody say hey to Boris.
Hi, Boris. If it comes to next October and I don't have all of these on my shelf already, the black and white versions, I will just order them online because
Oh
that
yeah.
means we haven't gotten them in Sioux Falls and probably won't.
Yep. Yeah.
Next up, we have an announcement from Super 7. They're going to be introducing Werewolf of London to their reaction line. They've been doubling down on these reaction figures in the last year or so with a ton of Universal monsters, and Werewolf of London will be the next. All they have is this little tease that it is coming. It's been shown off at a couple like toy conventions and toy, I don't know, expos.
Not a very good getting no good enough quality pictures to show yet.
No,
So
hidden behind glass cases with grainy
yeah.
quality. Someone shot it on their 2005 flip phone for some reason,
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
but it's coming. These reaction ones, I'm not as keen on as I am the NECA because these are at that $20 price point, and they are
Yeah.
the 3 and 3/4 inch action figures. And to me, it's like
With like
10,
no points of articulation.
yeah, $10 is kind of my sweet spot, and they used to be right around. I think when NECA owned this reaction line. They were around that 10 to 15, maybe 10 to 12. But since Super
Yeah.
7 took over, they are at that $20 at least price point. And I'm like, that's a bit too rich for my blood.
Yeah. Yeah. I think 10 is a fair price point for those because there's not a lot of, I mean, there's no point, there's very few points of articulation. It's
I
not
think
like
that
the sculpts are all that detailed, you
no,
know?
the heads turn left and right, the
Hmm.
arms move up and down, and I think the legs move. I'm
The
not
legs
even
move at least on some
100%.
of them,
Not
but not
100%
all, I
sure.
don't think.
Yeah, they're a bit
Yeah.
too much for that $20 price point. Maybe if they make, maybe they'll run into the Funko problem. They'll produce too many and end up having to mark a bunch down. We'll see.
Yeah.
Last up for the news, I was throwing some shade at our city that we reside in, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because what the hell are you doing? This news comes on the heels of Haulathon, which I don't think we've talked about yet.
I don't think so. Because
So
this was news to me when I saw it pop up in the show notes.
so
What is
Haulathon
Holothon, Casey?
started. It says it on here, February 26th. Is when it started. So each week, Target and NECA have been coming together to release these action figures from Gremlins to Hello Kitty, Alf, Ninja Turtles, Munsters, all into Target stores, and each week kind of gets a new release. Unfortunately, here in Sioux Falls, the only ones I've seen some of the Alfs, which is I'm not into to Alf. He was never I was too young to ever be into Elf by the time he was really popular. Gremlins, which I've seen maybe one from this release in the stores. Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
I've seen a few. I've not seen any of Rob Zombie's Munsters in the store, and so far they've released Herman and Grandpa Munster with Lily on the way. Haven't seen any of them in the stores. But along with the Ninja Turtles line, they're releasing Casey Jones' Phantom of the Opera, which is like I absolutely need that, and it's
Yeah.
not in our
That's
stores
dope.
anywhere.
Hey, sometimes you just got to order online, bud.
Well, that's the thing. I'm trying to figure this out, and maybe someone listening can help me through this because I'm not smart sometimes. I don't know if you can order these online.
Oh, really?
I th- I could be wrong. Someone can correct me, please do, because I want the Casey Jones Phantom figure. But from what I saw is that if you order it online, you have to pick it up from your store,
Oh,
and we don't have them.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what?
So
I
I
think
could
Maria
be
noticed that when she was on NECA's website. She was like, "Oh, it doesn't have a buy option." It just said see retailers.
yeah. So I
Huh.
could be wrong. Someone please correct me if it is, because I really do want that Casey Jones Phantom of the Opera. It's calling my name. Literally, my name's in it, but it's calling my name. I'm hoping me and Kayla are taking a trip to Omaha, Nebraska in a couple weeks. We're gonna stop at Target
Yep.
for this reason only. While we're there, I'm hoping there's a redemption story. Obviously,
I
there's
hope
bigger
so.
problems in the world, but I need that Casey Jones action figure.
Tune into the next Screams from the Basement to see if Casey gets his happy ending or not.
Well, let's all hope so. Again, but I going back to what I was saying earlier about NECA and like picking and choosing. This Casey Jones is part of like the Ninja Turtles Universal Monster,
Yeah,
and those are so cool.
they are.
But the unfortunate thing is that they're releasing the same time as the regular Universal Monsters, and I'm like, I can't do
Yeah,
both. I
yeah,
can't do
that's
both.
tricky. That's tricky because, like we said, NECA worth it, but it's a higher price point.
Hmm. Casey Jones is my one exception, I think, out of that line.
Yep, I get that.
All right. Well, that was my
All
rant
right.
on Target. Get your poop in a group. Target of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. At least get one of those
So,
in so I can get it, but we'll see.
yeah, do it, Target. So Casey, instead of like besides just going on the warpath against our local targets, what have you been doing?
I've been boycotting Target. I've been standing outside with a Target sign, but it says boycott Target on it. No, what I've been doing lately, um, I've been watching a lot of full moon movies.
Yeah,
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah, the reason I
Is there a single non-full moon movie on this list?
no, there's not.
I didn't think
Um,
so.
I've been reading over the last couple months, and I kind of got back into reading it, before bed and stuff. Is the book called "It Came from the Video Aisle," and that's all about the history, comprehensive history of full moon from its
Yeah.
start to I don't know the mid 2010s, probably
Okay.
whenever the book was released, and it's very in depth on pretty much every single movie in Full Moon's catalog, which is now I think 300 plus in their catalog, maybe 350, right around there. And it's been, just I don't know. I feel like I need to watch a lot of these movies and then go back and read about them, or vice versa. I'll read about them in the book and then want to watch them. But first up in my what I've been doing, I watched Murderbot from Jim Wynorski, the latest
Yeah.
full moon feature, using feature loosely because it's like 42 minutes. This is what I will say again. I give Full Moon I give them a lot of slack. I'll give them a few jabs when they need it. This is definitely one of them where I'm going to give them some slack and give them a few jabs at the same time. What I thought we were going to get when this was first announced on Charlie Band's podcast with Jim Wynorski is I thought we were going to get like a spiritual sequel to Chopping Mall,
Hmm.
because this was originally titled Killbots. I'm like, oh, that's really
Yep.
cool. They're finally going to use that name. Of course, Charlie's going to be the one that finds a way to use that because he probably thought it was such a cool title 40 years ago, which it is. Instead,
Yep.
we get Murderbot, which is very little Chopping Mall, a lot of Terminator. It is about this cyborg woman who rolls into this small nothing town where three people live and murders the people that live there. And a group of teenagers come in and she goes after them. And the scientists that created her try to stop her.
Sounds fun.
It does. And I will say again, it's like 40 plus minutes. It's obviously a breezy watch. Nothing new is added to the table for this sci-fi concept. What I did like is that there are callbacks to Chopping Mall. I think that
Okay.
might sell you on this.
Yeah.
The first kill ends with the cyborg lady saying, "Have a nice day." There is a explosion of body parts, not unlike the head explosion in Chopping Mall, shot very very similarly to that. The similarities kind of end there, but I think there was at least enough in a 40-minute movie to be like, Chopping Mall, we like that one. This one's all right. It's worth an afternoon watch, which is what I did. Throw it on in the background. Nothing more, nothing less.
Cool.
I don't think I
I'm
sold you,
excited to watch
but
it. I'm excited to watch it actually. Like you kind of totally sold me on it. Um yeah, I watched the trailer. It looks terrible, but it looks like kind of fun terrible, you
yeah,
know? Like Attack of the Killer Donuts terrible.
yeah. It's
I
it's
love
exactly
horror
what you
movies.
expect. Exactly what you expect. I will save one of them till we both talk about because I know you watched it. Next
Yeah.
up, I have Evil Bong 2, King Bong. I've only ever seen the first Evil Bong movie. I guess I'm gonna try to work my way through all these. Why not? This
Try.
movie, I was surprised that it has the same cast from the first movie coming back, which is like five people. And I'm like, wow, you got all five people to come back for Evil Bong 2, King Bong. This one kind of makes the evil Bong a bit of a anti-hero in this one,
They
where
pull a
we end up
Psycho too.
it pulls a Psycho too. It pulls, I don't know. There's a bigger threat. It's bigger Jaws.
Oh,
King Bong.
that's awesome.
I don't know. It's not too dissimilar from the first movie. There's an evil Bong. You get pulled inside of it, and some of your wildest fantasies come true, but you have to fight through them.
Cool.
Probably the perfect movie to watch while you're smoking from an evil Bong.
Yeah, probably.
Then
I remember watching the first one a long time ago. I don't remember much about it, but
yeah, it's evil Bong. It's
yeah.
exactly what you expect the title of the movie to be. And I think that's what Charlie does better than anyone.
Yeah.
Is you get the title, you get the cool poster. That's the movie you're going to get.
Just
I
for $20.
yeah, it's worth a watch. They're fun. I'm looking forward to going through more of the Evil Bong movies as they go along.
Oh yeah.
I watched a few older full moon movies. I watched the movie Bad Channels, which I unbeknownst to me, I had seen the sort of sequel to already, because one of the characters and the concept from Bad Channels is reintroduced in their like the full moon cinematic universe, Doll Man versus Demonic Toys, but also Bad Channels is featured. What's really interesting about this movie is it features a soundtrack from Blue Oyster Cult and
That's rad.
a few other bands. A local connection in this. Do you know of the? I think he was a DJ on K Back Radio. Ron Keel.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he's in this movie.
What?
Yeah, he gets. So this movie, what I find interesting, it's basically there's 3 music videos in this, and it's all part of the movie. But what happens is that there's an alien who hijacks a radio station and uses rock and roll music to shrink and capture young women. It's never really explained why they do that.
Oh my god. That sounds awesome.
But they take over a radio station and start playing, heavy metal, rock music, 80s glam rock, and it shows the music video for each time a woman gets kidnapped. One of the music videos is Ron Keel is the main band member.
That's awesome.
He also plays like a sloppy chef in the beginning of the movie at a diner.
This sounds like a very Sam movie.
Yeah, I think you would really dig it. It's a wild concept.
Checking that out.
Yeah, it's a weird movie and a wild concept. It doesn't obviously fully work, but it's a ton of fun to watch.
Rad. I love movies that introduce like anything that's is set in like a radio station or has like DJs and rock and roll and stuff. Like I'm a sucker for that aesthetic. So
there's also a little bit of like War of the Worlds in there too.
Ooh.
Where it's like a shock jock late night DJ.
Okay.
So people don't believe what he's saying on the radio about the alien taking over.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think you're going to dig the movie. Check it out.
Absolutely will do.
Another full moon, kind of one of their classic ones. I watched Subspecies for the first time, which I had never seen. This is kind of one of their big franchise movies alongside like Puppet Master and Subspecies were really 2 of their big ones. This is their vampire Nosferatu type story. There is a new Subspecies coming out later this year that's been hitting some festivals actually, and it's playing at Alamo Draft Houses right now. So if you are in an area that does have an Alamo Draft House, you might have Subspecies 5 playing there right now. And from what I saw from that trailer, looks legit. Looks like Charlie put some money into that one.
Oh dang!
I think it's probably because Ted Nicolao, who was the director of the original Subspecies series, he came back to do this one. He's kind of when you think of like good full moon movies, he's usually the guy behind it.
Okay.
Looking at you, Bad Channels, as another one he directed. But this subspecies movie is, I mean, it's your pretty basic vampire story, taking inspiration from Nosferatu, Dracula. What's kind of cool is that Angus Scrimm is the father of the vampire in the opening of the movie.
Really?
You may recognize the name from Phantasm. People out there
Yeah, yeah,
listening,
the tall man,
he's the tall man.
Angus
Yeah.
Scrim.
So he's in the opening of the movie. I think this is it's a movie that has a little bit of a pacing issue, unfortunately. Like it's not as fast paced as some other full moon movies, but it is also one of the first movies that they shot um, overseas in Europe. In I think it's Romania, right? It has to be, yeah, because that's where Charlie owned a castle. He owned a
I was
castle,
about to say, Romania sounds like the place that you would go to make a dirt cheap movie.
or saying Bucharest is what I'm seeing.
Oh, Bucharest?
Bucharest, yes.
Okay.
I assume they're probably
Yeah,
pretty close, Eastern
yeah,
European.
Eastern European. Yeah.
Charlie owned a castle there. That's all I know, and shot a bunch of movies, including this one.
That's awesome.
So that definitely adds some production value to this movie. There are some great shots. The vampire Radu looks really good. He has these really like long fingernails that are
Mm,
creepy. There's some stop motion animation in this movie that at first like kind of took me out of it, but the more I was like, yeah, I'm into this. This is cool.
yep. Stop motion has a weird way of doing that. Like it kind of throws you off at first if it's like one of my favorite movies, I Madman by Tibor Tavacs from '89. It has like a stop motion sequence at the end of it that kind of comes out of nowhere. And the first time I watched that movie, I thought it was like so weird and it took me out.
Hmm.
And like the more I watched it, the more it was like, no,
This rules.
this is cool. This
Yeah.
is awesome.
There's an opening of the movie where Radu the vampire like cuts off his own fingertips, and it's like a really cool special effect to open the movie, and it's really creepy and gross. I loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
definitely check it out.
subspecies.
It's the best of the movies I mentioned from Full Moon,
Okay.
including the next one. We'll get to it because it'll segue right into yours because we both watched this. We both finally
Oh yeah.
watched Sorority Babes and the Slime Ball Bolorama 2.
Yes. If you guys listen to Slash Slot, you know Casey and I both really loved the first one.
Hmm.
We both watched it when it Boris, no. He made another appearance. We watched it when Shudder added it.
Hmm.
And oh my god, that movie is such a cheesy blast. And it would have been almost 2 years ago now. We went to Halloween-a-Palooza
Yep.
and Boris, good God. Sorry, my cat's being a dick. Yeah, we went to Halloween-a-Palooza and Brink Stevens was there and Kelly Maroney. We met them both. They're very kind, wonderful people. And Brink announced that she was going to be directing a Sorority Babes. At the time, I thought she said it was going to be a remake, and then it ended up being a sequel. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
From what I
And
remember, I think she said a remake.
yeah, yeah.
We
But
also had no idea Kelly was involved at that point.
no, no. And it kind of made us wonder if maybe over Halloween-a-Palooza, that was what got those two connected to start doing that. Because I feel like Kelly definitely perked up when she was talking about that. Um, and honestly, yeah, sorority. So finally, now we have both watched Sorority Babes at the Slime Bowl Ballerama 2, Slime Ball Bowlerama 2.
It's a
And
mushmouth title. Yeah.
it is. It's a mushmouth title.
What did you think, Sam?
Okay, so when I started this, I was not vibing with it. And I don't know, like, it was just like, I think I've forgotten. It was the first full moon movie I'd watched in a while. I think I had forgotten how low budget Full Moon was, and I think it threw me for a minute because I was like, "Oh God, like I'm just not vibing with this. What is this? The acting's so wooden and stiff."
But
And but I went back to it. I went back to it because you watched it and you were like, "I don't know. I thought it was really funny." I'm like, "Okay, I gotta actually finish this then." And I went back and I rewound it a little bit, and I gotta admit, this one kind of rules. um, I like this one quite a bit. It might be a sequel, but it's also basically a pseudo remake of the
mhm,
original. Like it hits a lot of the same beats, but it also kind of recontextualizes some of them. You can tell that a woman directed this installment. It's sleazy, but it's not as like creepy. Should I say?
yeah.
Yeah.
What? Okay, like you, actually, unlike you, I was vibing right away when I was watching this because maybe I'm just so used to budgets of full moon movies and like how they're shot nowadays. Because again, like the '90s full moon movies that were shot in Europe at Charlie's Castle, Charlie also owns what you would probably consider a castle in Cleveland, Ohio nowadays. That house that they shot the sororities in. That's full. I think it's called Full Moon Manor, and that's where they
Okay.
shoot a lot of full moon movies that have interiors at a. I mean, it's doubled for like an old people home in Doctor Death. It's the sorority house in this movie, so it's used quite a bit in modern full moon movies. I think it's probably used the best in this because it does look like a sorority house already.
It does. It legitimately looks like a sorority house.
And I was just really I was really vibing with this movie because one, it is basically a loose remake of the first Sorority Babes. It also keeps that same tone, never takes itself
Mhm.
too seriously. It's never too goofy either. It's also pretty funny.
You don't think it goes too goofy ever?
I mean, not like any goofier than the first movie does.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you mean, yeah.
It's never
Okay,
out of character for what was set up in that first movie. Yeah, it's a goof.
yeah,
I mean, it's an imp that comes out of a bowling trophy.
yeah.
But
This one's as goofy as they come.
yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility that's set up in the first movie. Maybe that's what I should have said. It's a fun little 60-minute movie. Again, it's really funny for a horror comedy. It still
Mhm.
sticks a lot of the comedic points. It's also very
Especially
sleazy.
in the 3rd act.
It is. It's also very sleazy, like you said, but it's also shot with that in mind of like, hey, this is what you expect from an '80s horror comedy. And
Yeah,
you can tell
yeah,
that with Brink that I don't know, it's not I don't want to say it's tastefully done, but it's done with that in mind. It's a wink and a
yeah,
nod. It's a tongue firmly planted in cheek
yeah. It
type
feels
of
a little bit
sleaze.
like yeah, it feels a little bit like, "Haha, this is what's expected, but
This is
we're moving
gratuitous and
on."
over the
Like,
top.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Kelly is super funny as the
she's
mother of the house.
hilarious.
She's so funny in this. I also think there's a standout performance. It's the gal who plays like the lead of the sorority sisters in the house.
Mhm.
Let me pull up her name. Jessie Gill. She
Okay,
plays
yeah.
like the lead, and she's the one that gets possessed with the bowling pin stuck in her head.
Yeah, she's great.
She's really funny throughout this entire movie.
Yep.
Where like everybody in the sorority house is kind of the typical bimbo,
Yeah,
and she's
yeah,
like the straight laced one, just like trying to keep the sorority house alive.
yep.
So
Yeah,
I think she's got a career outside of these full moon movies, in which like
yep,
that's not a knock on anyone that appears in these. I mean, but there is certain people that show up in multiple iterations of full moon movies. Some would probably show up 5 or 6 times a year in full moon movies. good on them. It's cool that they get a paycheck and can show up and do these movies. I feel like she's gonna break out of this though.
Yeah. Yeah, she had a little bit of something a little extra in this movie that maybe others were lacking. I also really liked Brink Stevens in her own cameo as like one of the ghosts of the sorority
Yeah.
girls from the last that's still haunting the bowling alley. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I loved her, and I forget who the other one was that reprised their roles as like ghosts who are trying to help them not make the same
Yeah.
mistakes. I
Yeah.
don't know. That was just a nice little added touch.
I would say if you've heard about it, obviously if you're a fan of the first one, you've heard that oh they made a sequel, Charlie Band produced it, Full Moon movie. I would say it's definitely worth a watch. It is on
Yeah,
Tubi right now. So if you
and it's
are
an hour long.
yeah, it's an
It's
hour long.
it's
You're not going to
breezy.
regret it. It's a ton of fun. I would say it's on par with the first movie. I'll go out there and say it.
Yeah,
It's on par with the first
yeah,
movie.
it is. It is easily. The first one's not a masterpiece by any means. It's
Mm,
it's a fun sleazy time, and this one's very much the same.
no,
And
but the first one does hold a cult status, so I think people hearing me say that might freak out, but I'm 100% sincere this is on par with that first movie.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
And one of the better full moon movies in a long time. I mean this fits right in with the height of full moon in the 90s. This would fit perfectly in with those.
Yep. There's a money gag in the third act too that's really funny. Had me
It
rolling.
is really funny.
I
Yeah.
thought that was the funniest thing. I was like, as soon as a line is said, you know where it's going,
Yep.
but it goes there and it goes there well. It's funny. It's
It's
like
really funny.
genuinely funny.
Yep. All the guys know what movie they're in.
Yeah, 100%.
They felt like this entire movie, especially those guys, felt like the remake of Slumber Party Massacre,
Yeah.
where like tongue is firmly planted in cheek, and they know what
Yeah.
movie they're in, and sort of subvert the expectations that you would expect from an '80s slasher remake.
Yep. This would actually pair fairly well with the Slumber
Mhm.
Party Massacre remake. Yeah.
So people out there listening, if you want to remake sleazy '80s horror movies, only do ones that Brink Stevens was in
Yeah.
because they work every time. Sam,
Oh man.
besides
Yeah.
going to the slime ball bolorama again, what else have you been doobie doing?
So just today actually, I rewatched. Well, okay, I put it in as a first time watch because I couldn't remember if I'd actually sat down and watched the whole thing. I've seen it in bits and pieces over the years. Finally sat down and watched start to finish the Evil Dead remake from 2013. Here's what I'll say about it. It is a very well done movie that is not very much to my tastes. I think it's a little too dark and dour for most of it to where like I don't find myself enjoying it for a large part of the runtime, but the gore sequences are incredible, the special effects are awesome. Some of the camera work is great. Like I love the cold open. I think the cold
Yeah.
open is intense and insane and really fun. I don't know. There's stints of this movie where I'm not having as much fun watching it the same way that I do in Raimi's movies, even Army of Darkness, which I like a little bit less than the first two. Like, I'm always having fun with it, and there are lulls in the remake for me. I feel like that said, the raining blood sequence to the end is straight up some of the best shit in this franchise. I love it. I love Mia confronting her drug addicted self, like ah, and just the chainsaw gore at the end. It's an incredible third act to this movie. It really sticks the ending, and I think that's what I maybe this was like higher up before I rewatched it in my mind because I remembered how much I loved that third act. It's just getting there to me after the cold open, and then you're moving towards it. It's that section that kind of is hit or miss for me, I guess. Um, That said, I understand why people consider this one of the greatest remakes ever. I don't necessarily put it up there, but I understand why people do. Um, yeah, I like Evil Dead 2013. I'm really excited for Evil Dead Rise because I think it looks like it's going to have the intensity and gore of this one, but it's not going to lose that like tongue-in-cheek kind of wry sense of humor, you know? I think Evil Dead Rise is going to be kind of the best of both worlds between remake and the original, and I'm really excited for it. So, I know you love the Evil Dead remake quite a bit.
I was gonna say we might talk about it a little later. Well,
We
a
might,
different
yeah.
episode later. But yeah,
Oh my god. Yeah.
I said it when I rewatched it a few months ago. It's a 5-star banger.
You know what, dude? I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't even looking at our schedule when I watched this. It was
Don't
just
worry.
in my head for some reason, and I was like, whatever, I'm gonna pop this
I
on.
watched it a few months ago. I'm going to be watching it again for.
Yeah. I'll probably watch it again before that episode too. Um, ominous teaser for the future.
I mean,
All right.
they're no dummies. They can figure it out.
Yeah, they can figure it out. I also put my Screenbox, my Screenbox subscription to its full power again. I watched a lot of Toxic Crusaders, and I also watched Living with Chucky, the new Chucky documentary by Kira Gardner, who is Tony Gardner's daughter. Tony Gardner, the head visual effects makeup from Seed on, um, and for the first like I'd say 45 minutes of this, it's a pretty standard run through of all the movies. It's not going to have a lot of information that fans of the franchise don't already know. Um, a lot of the stuff is just kind of more, for lack of a better term, generic, like behind the scenes DVD featurette type of footage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even then it's good enough. Like even that would be good enough for me because I'm such a Chucky fan. I've wanted a Chucky franchise doc for a long time, the same way that Nightmare and Friday the 13th have theirs. And this one does that trick. But the thing that it does at the end is like it pulls back, it breaks the fourth wall, and then it becomes about the people who make these movies, their relationship with their children, how Chucky has spanned through generations, and how all of these people have grown, what it means to be part of a long running franchise that takes you away from your family for years at a time. And by the end of this, I was getting kind of misty eyed because there's a lot of interview footage with Kira and with Tony and with Brad and with Brad Dourif and Fiona Dourif, where they're kind of talking about the times that they had to spend away from their children making these movies and what that kind of cost. But then to see their children also come up, get into the film industry. Tony and Kira worked on this film together. And so it was just, I don't know, it was a really interesting documentary that I really enjoyed as a Chucky fan. And it has a weirdly personal vibe to it in the third act that I know some people might find jarring. Like it might be weird once all of a sudden the camera pulls back and all of a sudden the filmmaker is talking about herself. I thought it was brilliant. I loved the way that she did it, and I was really, I don't know. I walked away pretty impressed with this. There's the inclusion of a few talking heads that I don't think are relevant to the topic at all. They were kind of jarring whenever they were on, but this started as a student film. This is her first feature, and that's the kind of stuff that you maybe expect from a first time filmmaker, and she's figuring it out. And I think it's a really good documentary. I loved it. I think if you're a Chucky fan, you will love it. I really recommend checking it out. It made me feel all the feelings. And last but certainly not least, the most. Oh my God, this is the show I need Casey to watch immediately. I finally started Yellow Jackets on Showtime. I went through the whole first season in like 4 days, and now I'm watching season 2 as it airs, and it sucks because I have to wait a week between each episode, and it's killing me. And Yellow Jackets tells the story of a soccer team from the 90s who a girls soccer team. They won their like state finals or whatever. They're going to nationals and their plane crashes in the middle of the Canadian wilderness. and they're stranded out there for 16 months. And it's told in a split narration where you've got what's happening back in 96 when they crash and their survival. And then the first season is centered around 4 survivors as adults. They're in their 40s. Some of them have kids. All of them have baggage and issues. And all of a sudden, someone starts blackmailing them, telling them, like, if they don't, give this amount of money, they're going to spill what happened in this wilderness. And there are glimpses of like where it's going. From the cold open of the pilot, that they're going into cannibalism. Like at some point, some of these girls are going to be eaten. And man, the journey that the show is taking on, like season 2 is picked up a little bit, but there are still far more questions than answers. And I know that the showrunners have like a 5-year plan. And I hope everybody keeps watching this and tuned in, because this is one of the best written shows, the best written and best performed shows I have ever seen. I'm putting this one up instantly with like the Mike Flanagan Netflix miniseries. This show is incredible. It's got an incredible cast. Sophie Thatcher from the young cast as a young Natalie is incredible. She's played in her older version by Juliette Lewis, who is just phenomenal in this. They both have just this like rawness and this toughness to them, while also like very much a vulnerability to both of their characters in their different time periods. Christina Ricci and Melanie Linsky rightfully were up for Emmys. And I'm like, everybody in this show should be up for an Emmy. Like the Emmys should have just been called the Yellow Jacket Awards last year. Like, holy crap, is this show just top to bottom, just impeccable. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I've been listening to recap podcasts. I have been watching cast interviews. Like I've been looking for any Yellow Jackets content to find in between these episodes, because it's killing me that I have to wait until Friday to get another one. So yeah, that's oh yeah. And I have one more thing. It's super fun. It's super cool.
I'm ready.
But yeah, go watch Yellow Jackets on Showtime. Everybody knows that I love this movie, but Waxwork finally put out the Chopping Mall score on vinyl.
Beautiful.
For the first time since 2014. It is available. It's even got a cool vinyl variant where it's like splatter. I love it. This is just Chopping Mall's like maybe my favorite movie of all time at this point. And I love the score.
Your favorite movie of all time, Chopping Mall? No.
Yeah, my favorite movie of all time, Chopping Mall. I didn't put it in my recent watches, because if I put it in my recent watches, every time I watch it, we'd be talking about it like at least every other episode. Yeah. And but I finally introduced Maria's sisters to it. I just put it in the background while we were playing a game. And I was so happy because they kept stopping and like looking at the screen going like, oh my God, what's happening now? I'm like, I know, this movie rules. Like
Chopping Mall is that perfect background movie.
It is. It's oh God, it's so good.
It's the best.
Yeah.
We should have just named this podcast something Chopping Mall related.
Yeah. The Have a Nice Day cast.
The Have a Nice Day podcast. Well, I should share my one thing I picked up. Well, I didn't pick it up. I got it in the mail. The newest issue of Fangoria, which is the number 19 of volume 2. Yeah. This is the Evil Dead Rise cover, this is one of the most stacked editions of Fangoria I've had in my subscription to it. Tons of articles on Evil Dead Rise, the original Evil Dead, Renfield. There's a Yellow Jackets article. There's an article on Malum, which I'm very excited to watch too.
Oh yeah.
This one just feels like everything in this I want to dive into.
Yeah.
Go check it out, people. Go buy that Fangoria.
Go get some Fangoria.
All right, Sam, is that all we got for our doobie doings?
It's all we got for our doobie doings. But we've got some fun stuff coming up because we asked for your questions, audience, and y'all came in clutch. We got some great questions here. Questions that are going to provoke, I'm sure, plenty of discussion.
We got some questions that the kids would say are bangers.
Bangers.
Bangers. So should we start it off with one of these questions that we got in?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sam.
So, our first question that we have is from our buddy Dom Weinecke. You might know him from directing movies like Death Rot and short films like Black Eyed Girl and what was the White River Lake, Red River. What was the one we played at our film
Whitetail Lake.
Whitetail Lake. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Ah, yeah. And he's working on a Last Stop series, which we're also helping with. It's fun. It's great.
He was also the assistant director on 13 Fanboy.
Yes. Yeah. So friend of the show, Dom Weinecke asks, what non-horror movie scared you? I've got a couple.
Non-horror movie scared me. Sam, what do you got?
So I always tell people that my first movie theater experience was The Phantom Menace because that's the first movie theater experience I enjoyed. My first movie theater experience, if I go by release date, my parents, I remember them taking me to Mighty Joe Young. Don't remember why they were taking me to Mighty Joe Young. I have never watched that movie since theaters because it scared the living crap out of me. I was in this dark theater and I'm watching this gorilla get like shot at, and I'm like, I was terrified for the gorilla, and I was terrified that there was going to be some guy with a gun in the back, like looking for a gorilla to shoot. And like, oh my God, I'm tearing up a little bit thinking of it. I was scared shitless, dude. And I didn't tell my parents anything. I just sat in the theater and the credits were rolling and they're getting their coat. And I'm just like in my theater seat and they're like, are you ready to go? And I'm like, I guess. And I hid behind my dad the whole way back up the aisle. I was probably like maybe 5 at the time. Oh my God, dude. I haven't watched that movie since. When I looked it up again, like years later, I didn't even know Charlize Theron was in that movie. The only thing I remember about it is that terrifying movie theater experience. It scared the crap out of me. So that's one.
I had, honestly, like there's not a lot when I was a kid that scared me.
Oh, I was a scaredy.
That weren't already horror movies. That like horror movies.
Do you count stuff like Ghostbusters and like Young Frankenstein as horror movies?
I mean, yeah.
Because both of those, the first time I watched them, also scared me. Like they were funny, but they also scared me quite a bit.
What scared you?
I remember Ghostbusters, the opening where they grabbed the box out of the skeleton's hands.
Okay.
And Gene Wilder's crazy eyes at the end of it. His crazy monster eyes. That scarred me, dude.
I had a different Gene Wilder movie that probably added to my nature of liking weird and macabre things.
The Willy Wonka movie?
The tunnel scene in Willy Wonka where it's just random things on the screen like maggots and birds. And
that's such a weird scene to have in the middle of a kid's movie. That one was also...
And the way he's lit, too, he's terrifying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't see Pee-wee's Big Adventure until, like, years later, but the Large Marge thing still scared me, even as, like, a teenager.
Mm-hmm. I had, as a kid, I remember my parents and probably my aunt rented M. Night Shyamalan Signs when it first came out.
Oh, dude, there's some scary shit in Signs.
And actually I have 2 M. Night ones. The alien scene was like, that was the one that was like, oh my God, that's terrifying. The one in The Sixth Sense, though, that really stuck with me even earlier was the scene where the dad feeds the daughter or is it the mother? Yeah, it's the mom that feeds the daughter soup, and it has poison in it. And when little Haley Joel Osment's in his little tent, and she shows up there, and she has like vomit pouring out of her mouth after
Oh.
this incredible scene of like the paper, the not paper clips, the clothespins coming off his tent little by little, and the
Mm,
camera's just following each one. It's terrifying. Yeah, I probably saw that again when I was 5 or 6 years old.
yeah, that'll
Yeah,
do it.
that terrified me.
Yeah. Wizard of Oz always kind of scared me a little bit. The
The
Wicked
flying
Witch,
monkeys.
the
Oh,
flying monkeys, especially, like they were terrifying. There was also I don't even know what movie this is from, but on my Wizard of Oz VHS, if you fast forwarded through the credits, there was like a whole making of documentary,
mm.
like a whole 45-minute one attached to the end of this VHS. I watched it, and there was a section on the lady who played Mrs. Gulch slash the Wicked Witch, and they played a clip from another movie she was in where she was holding this guy at shotgun point, like she had a shotgun up on him, and she was like yelling at him and stuff, and that scared the crap out of me.
Not only does she have a broom and she can fly, she's got shotguns and can
Yeah.
blast.
I remember watching that and being like, "Oh my god, like this lady's terrifying."
I watched that so many times. It's one of the most watched movies of my childhood, Wizard of Oz, but I was never scared of, I don't know, anything in
Really?
it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe just because I watched it so many times, it kind of
Yeah,
took
could
away
have
from
been.
that.
Because like I mean, like everything. I mean, Young Frankenstein, Ghostbusters, even Wizard of Oz. Like as it went, like as I continued watching them, I kind of feel like I got desensitized to it, and
Mhm.
like I started enjoying it. I think we do that with horror nowadays in general. Like
Yeah.
Halloween '78 doesn't necessarily scare me anymore, but I still remember the time that like the first time watching it when it did. You know?
I have
Oh,
a non-movie
hi,
one
Gypsy.
that terrified me.
Okay.
I have, and still have, had it, especially as a kid, still have it, an irrational fear of clowns.
Mm, yeah.
I hate clowns so much. And I'm not talking about like
The
ooga
scary
booga
demonic
scary
clowns.
clowns. It's your normal like circus clowns. And the one that terrified me the
Really?
most as a kid was Bozo the clown. Still does. If I see that guy's face anywhere, I literally get goosebumps.
Really?
It terrifies me. I don't know why. It's very irrational, but just normal clowns terrify me.
Hmm.
No one should be
I
that
did
happy
not
all the
know
time.
that. I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah. No,
If you're
clowns
happy, what's
terrify me.
wrong with you?
I have a very irrational fear of clowns.
I feel like I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. Hey,
That's
this is
crazy,
an
man.
episode. The more you know.
Wanna go to the circus with me sometime?
No, no, no. I went there as a kid and I was like requesting to leave.
Yeah, I bet.
I
Man,
remember
clowns have never
we
bothered me.
we went to the circus here in Sioux Falls and we were sitting in the crowd and the clowns would walk up and down the aisles and do their thing.
Hmm.
And I remember like I was close to the edge of like the aisle and I
Yeah.
like moved in further to the aisle so he wouldn't come up to me. I'm like, I don't want him to interact with me. If he does, I will scream and yell.
That's crazy, man. I didn't know
Hmm.
that.
Hate him. Terrified.
Hmm.
Still to this day, I don't like them. Them clowns.
No clowns for Casey.
No clowns for me. Yet I can watch like it and be perfectly fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a clown. It is an interdimensional being.
That's true.
So, and it's
Should we go?
like you said, it's trying to be scary.
Yeah. Should we go to the next question?
Let's go to the next question.
All right, I can read it
Do
off here.
you,
This
oh,
one
do you want
comes
me to
from. I was gonna say, is Boris's butt getting in the way?
Gypsy's butt, actually.
Oh,
So, yeah, my second cat decided to also make an appearance.
second
They're all
cameo.
getting
Cat
in on the
cameos.
action.
All right, Sam. What's the next question?
Next question is, what is a perfect food to eat while watching horror movies? From friend of the show and actor extraordinaire Ezra Hunter.
Good question, Ezra.
That is a good question.
Specifically horror movies, he says too.
Yeah,
I think we need to
specifically
take that
horror
into
movies.
account.
Here's my thing. When I watch horror, I always want pizza. Pizza's
Horror and
like my
pizza are great.
go-to horror thing. And I think it's because, like slumber parties as a kid, what was the thing you always got? You always got pizza, and you'd sit up late at night and you'd eat a bunch of pizza and you'd watch whatever horror movies were, on the available on the rental shelf
Hmm.
at the local Hy-Vee. And yeah, but in the absence of that, I do like popcorn and I love Sour Patch Kids. And I used to do M&Ms a lot. If I can find like non-dairy M&Ms, I will, like non-dairy chocolate candies. I'll still put them in my popcorn because I love chocolate and popcorn.
I was going to ask, do you do your Sour Patch Kids in your popcorn?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes.
It's
And
a
I
little
like Sour Punch straws. Yeah,
The Sour Patch in the popcorn is like a hidden gem of movie snacks.
it is. It
If
is.
you haven't tried it, do it.
Yeah.
My go-to, like you, pizza and horror movies kind of just, I mean, they're peanut butter and jelly. They
I
just
tend
go
not
together.
to, yeah. And I tend not to eat a lot of like pasta with a lot of like tomato sauce and stuff like that when I'm watching horror. I
Yeah.
can't do it. Like a lot of red food, I can't do. Red sauces.
Pretzels are kind of my go-to. I'm a pretzel guy.
Oh,
I like
okay.
pretzels. Yeah, pretzels and horror movies. Dots pretzels specifically go good with a horror movie. I
Yeah,
will say we were
I
watching
like
just
dots.
a funny anecdote here. We were watching some horror game on YouTube, and we were having salad. And next thing I know, Kayla's sitting in the chair next to me, and there's salad flying in the air after a jump scare. And it was the funniest thing ever. So salad
No,
is not salad. Do not eat salad while watching horror
don't,
movies.
don't eat salad at a horror movie. Don't eat salad, period.
Just don't eat it at all. Save
Just
yourself.
don't eat salad. Oh, man.
That is the quote from today's show. Just don't eat salad.
Just don't eat salad.
It's bad news.
We're the opposite of David Spade and Benchwarmers.
We hate salad.
We hate salad.
Salad.
Oh man. Bet you guys didn't think you were gonna get a deep cut Happy Madison quote, did you?
Gonna get a Benchwarmers reference. All right,
Oh,
guys.
man.
You all prepared to meet your makers?
Makers of what? Poop.
All right, Sam, what's
No.
next? Yeah, that's it. Look
Oh my
out for
God, I
our
haven't seen that. How have I not seen that movie in forever and I can still list it off?
Benchwarmer, super underrated, highly quotable movie.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, next question. This one is from friend of the show, Ansel Faraj. You may know
Woo!
him from directing Todd Tarantula. You can check out our interview with him and some of the cast members from that movie on our YouTube channel and, well, on our podcast channels, all of them. And you can watch Todd Tarantula on Tubi. Ansel wants to know what our favorite classic horror movie pre-1971 is. Casey, you said you actually had yours narrowed down to a couple. I told you that's a hard fucking question.
This is a super hard question. Especially 1971. That's a very specific date to go off
Yeah.
of. Because I'm just thinking of some of my favorites. Even looking at not too far before that, 1960, going with Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, I could throw in there
Yeah.
as like that's a stone cold classic, one of my favorites.
68, Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby.
That's
But then you can go even further back and you get the Universal monsters of the 30s and 40s to throw in there. That's where
and you got like the 50s atomic horror. You got Ed Wood in there.
That's
I don't know.
That's sort of easier for me because I'm not an atomic horror guy.
Oh, see,
So
I
that
love
kind
it.
of
I
takes
love
out
all
an
the
entire
monster
decade for me.
movies and, yeah. Oh man, that like science fiction stuff, like
Yeah.
the 50s Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 50s Blob. Oh God, I love that. Them, the giant ant movie.
So I'm gonna make it tough for us. I'm gonna say you can only pick one, and I'm leaning towards one filmmaker. I'm just trying to figure out which one of those.
Can I ask what filmmaker?
Yes,
What filmmaker are you thinking of?
James Whale,
Oh, god damn it. That was going to be mine too.
but I can't decide which one.
Can I tell you, if I was going to pick a Hitchcock movie, it wouldn't be Psycho.
It's
It'd
the
be Rear
birds.
Window.
Rear Window.
No, it'd be
Okay.
Rear Window. I love Rear Window. It's my favorite Hitchcock.
Goddamn great movie.
It is. And I love the Shia LaBeouf remake, Disturbia.
Disturbia is great, and another one that, I guess I wasn't a kid, but another movie that terrified me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go towards the James Whale movie. I'm thinking either I could go Frankenstein, Bride, Invisible Man. I love Old Dark House, and that's the one I'm leaning towards. I
Mm-hmm.
think
I was wondering if Old Dark House would be your answer to
I'm
this.
going to say it. Bride, all three of those movies are better movies. Invisible Man, Frankenstein, and Bride are better movies than Old Dark House, but on a personal level, Old Dark House is my pick. I love that
Okay.
movie. I was just thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, God, I just want to rewatch that movie.
So here's where I'm gonna maybe this answer won't surprise you, because yeah, my knee-jerk response was it's Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah,
Like, Bride of Frankenstein is just one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. But I'm like, everybody knows what Bride of Frankenstein is. I
hmm
don't know. I want to try and find something that maybe other people haven't. And then I even thought like Carnival of Souls, but Carnival of Souls is pretty well known too. I feel like maybe not to the extent of like
Bride of
Universal
Frankenstein.
Monsters
Yeah,
and that, but like Carnival of Souls is so good, and it's very much like you can tell that it's an influence on like Rod Sterling with the Twilight Zone. It's very, very in that vein, and I love it. It's dark and moody, and it's got a gut punch of an ending. Um, but I think I'm honestly like I'm just gonna go with my heart and say Plan 9 from Outer Space. Um,
that is not where I thought you were going. Okay.
I know, and here's why though. It's not the technically best movie. It's like it's
No,
a
it's not,
terrible
Sam.
movie. It's really a terrible movie. But I think that there's something about it, like it has everything that I love about pre-1971 horror. It's got like
Yeah,
Bela Lugosi doing a vampire thing, you know? It's got zombies, it's got space aliens. It's I don't know. It's a weird movie. It's like Ed Wood couldn't decide what type of movie he wanted to make, so he just made them all, and he didn't
yeah.
make any of them particularly well.
hmm
But I don't know. I love Plan 9 from Outer Space. Um, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I had a list of like 50 somewhere on it's on my iPad, which I'm also using to stream, so I guess I can't look it up. But I'll tell you, I had a massive list of movies that could potentially be, and Plan 9 was on there. But I love like Satanic Panic. Rosemary's Baby is a big one for me. Yeah, I don't know. But if we're talking like genuine favorite, it's probably Bride of Frankenstein. But I just want to share
Yeah.
some love with Plan 9 from Outer Space. You know what I mean? Oh, hey, here's a
There.
couple. No, you know what? I'm changing my answer.
No, you already said it. Plan 9 from Outer Space is it.
Okay,
What,
fine.
what
But
was your other answer?
I the 58 Blob. I forget
Okay.
how much I love that movie. I forget how much I love the 58 Blob. Steve McQueen's awesome. There's something special about that one. I love that he's like 38 playing an 18-year-old.
We said it here. The best pre 1971 movies are The Old Dark House and Plan 9 from Outer Space. Those are locked. Those are locked in answers. There's no changing it.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing else that defines us as movie watchers or podcast hosts or this podcast in general than us saying The Old Dark House and Plan 9 from Outer Space. I think that
Yeah.
perfectly sums up our movie sensibilities.
So sorry, Ansel. No. This is a great question though.
That is a great
I
question.
love that. And yeah.
Hey,
I
Plan
don't know.
9
I
from
could
Outer
have listed
Space
50
stars
movies.
Tor Johnson, professional wrestler extraordinaire. Sam loves wrestling now, so we have to
I
throw that.
do. I love wrestling now.
Got him. Hook, line, sinker. Wrestling fan. I'm going to use that as a segue to one of my questions before we get to other people's questions.
Sounds great.
Okay, Sam likes wrestling now. Breaking
Yeah.
news. Breaking news. Sam likes wrestling now. Within the last, I don't know, couple weeks, months,
Yeah, WrestleMania was dope. The Royal Rumble was awesome.
he's hooked.
I
Sam,
re I actually rewatched the Royal Rumble
there was
after WrestleMania.
there's a lot of horror in wrestling.
Yeah.
Always has been. Always will be a part of it. I think they're kind of intertwined with each other forever. I'm not going to ask you like who's your favorite horror wrestling character because I think it's too early in your wrestling watching.
Yeah.
But I will say I know you know about this because I sent you the video of this one time. Chucky made an appearance in
Mhm.
WCW Nitro, I believe. Maybe
Yes.
it's Thunder. It was against Rick Steiner. Called out Rick Steiner. He also did make an appearance, I believe, last year with Rick Steiner's son, Braun Breaker. So Chucky
Okay.
has been intertwined into the wrestling universe. He is a character in wrestling. He is a
Yeah.
defined character.
And
What
Liv
other
Morgan even
horror?
got killed by him on the TV series.
What's that?
Liv Morgan even got killed by him on the TV series.
She did. Did she play herself?
Yeah, she just like
Okay.
plays herself.
It's
It's
all
great.
part of the same universe. Sam,
Yeah.
which horror icon would you like to see pop up in the WWE?
Which horror icon would I like to see pop up in the WWE?
Yes.
Hmm.
They could make there's a crossover maybe with another wrestling star shows up in their TV or movie.
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't like the first movie. I haven't seen the second one, but I would actually love to see Art the Clown do a WWE spot. I think that would the possibilities there would be really fun. You could do some gore gags and like all that kind of stuff. Um, and I just think that character in particular, the
Hmm.
theatricality of him would lend well to wrestling. Otherwise, I would love to see Freddie go in, but like, let's be honest, Robert Englund is not in any kind of shape to do a wrestling match.
Yeah,
You know,
that's my pick though. My pick is for Freddy Krueger to do something.
you
It's not
think?
like Chucky was
Yeah,
in the ring wrestling someone. He's just there
yeah, that's fair. That's
cutting a
fair.
promo. My thing is like how it's kind of shocking that Freddy Krueger and Hulk Hogan never have interacted with each other. With how big original WrestleMania is, centered around like the MTV generation. Mr. T was there, Cyndi Lauper was there. Like it was during the rock and wrestling revolution of the '80s. Freddy
It is
Krueger was
kind of
coming up
weird,
around
isn't
that
it?
same time. It's kind of weird that Freddy Krueger and Hulk Hogan have never crossed paths. I need that to
Yeah,
happen. I think that's the one I would pick. Freddy Krueger, Hulk Hogan. I just need to see Freddy Krueger call Hulk Hogan a bitch.
yeah,
He's a
yeah.
jabroni bitch.
Well, and that's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, Freddie
I need
would
it.
be a good like trash talker.
Yeah,
He'd be good at like getting people hyped. I just
it's my
think
pick.
I just think Art would be a psycho in the ring.
Pulls out his garbage bag full of tools and needles and yeah.
Can you imagine getting a haluva kick with one of those giant clown shoes? Yeah.
Book it, Vince. Doink the Clown versus Art the Clown. WrestleMania, baby.
There we go. Well, I'll do a question then before we
Okay.
get back to our fan ones. I have one that I've got an answer for, but I want to know your answer, and that is, what's one of your favorite Halloween memories? Like, what's one Halloween that you just put above the rest, kind of, just because you have a good memory associated with it?
I have a Halloween that I have a bad memory associated with it.
Oh, I mean that that could work too, I suppose. I don't know. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's nothing bad, like bad, but I remember when I was a kid. Every kid gets chicken pox.
Oh
I just so
yeah.
happened to have chicken pox on Halloween,
On oh
and I have a
shit.
picture somewhere at my parents' house of me in a ninja costume, like bawling my eyes out because I'm itchy and I have chicken pox all over my face.
Oh jeez. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
I don't, oh man, I got chicken pox on the last day of kindergarten, and that devastated me because I was a nerd who loved school.
I'll try to think of a
Oh
good
man,
good Halloween memory.
that's cool, man. Like I didn't know you had chicken pox.
I did. I will say, like a it's not necessarily a memory, but a favorite childhood tradition on Halloween though was watching Disney Channel on Halloween and
Mm,
watching Hocus Pocus
yeah,
and the first two Halloween Town movies like every year.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of where like my answer would be too. So like I remember in sixth grade was the last year I went trick or treating. I remember going out and like I was a small kid and I had a baby face. And so I don't think anybody like thought anything of it that I was trick or treating. But like I just noticed that year, I'm like, I don't know any of these kids. Like I'm not seeing any of my friends out like trick or treating. Like I went with one of my other friends and like we didn't see anybody our
Mhm.
age. And we kind of it was a little bit of a sad Halloween that year because we kind of realized like, oh my God, we're too old for this.
It's the
Like we're
moment you knew
getting
you're too old for trick or treating. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it was just kinda like I remember that one being kind of melancholy and somber, and I was just not excited for Halloween in 7th grade. Like, 7th grade was a rough year for me, and I just remember, like, "Ah, I just don't wanna do anything, like, I'm not gonna do anything for Halloween, whatever, blah, blah, blah," and one of my buddies, like, he goes, "Hey, we're gonna watch some horror movies, on Halloween night," and it was like a school night, so I was like, "There's no way my parents are gonna let me do this." My parents did. They just let me stay the night at my friend's house on a school night, and it became a tradition. Like, that was what we did on Halloween. We'd go over to his basement, we'd watch horror movies until, like, midnight, 1 in the morning, and then we'd go to school the next day dead ass
Mhm.
tired, and it like,
Then you go on the playground though and you tell all the other kids about the scary movie you watched the night before.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was fun. Like I don't know. I remember that like 6th grade to 7th grade turning point where like I thought I wasn't gonna like Halloween going forward anymore. And then I ended up finding something that I loved even more than trick or treating, which was
Mhm.
just like hanging out, eating pizza, and watching horror
Yeah.
movies. So yeah, yeah. That first 7th grade one. I remember like I was sitting there like while we were watching like some British disgusting anthology movie that I have not been able to track down since. I really want to at some point. I should talk to Corey about that. But I remember trying to do my math homework while this movie was going, and them all being like, "Who cares if you don't have your math homework done tomorrow? Look at this." And by the end of the night, I had already I'd put it aside, and I don't even know if I ended up finishing it. That's how good that Halloween was. Nerdy me didn't even finish my math homework.
That's Sam's goal by the next episode, figure out what that movie is.
Yeah, you know what? I really want to because it's
What's
insane. Like
what's one of the images that like
the image that really sticks out to me is like I swear to God, there's like this pregnant lady and this giant like spider alien like burst out of her pregnant belly, and it was the goriest thing I have ever seen. I'm pretty sure it was a British movie, and it oh god, it was nasty, and it was terrifying. It was like buckets of blood, and it freaked me the hell out. And I've been chasing that movie ever since. I have no idea what it was.
all right, anyone out there listening, find that movie for Sam.
Yeah, like bug alien birth out, like, and this would have been like probably towards the end of the 2000s, like in the '07 to 2010 range, probably. And I'm guessing it was a newer release. but probably a direct-to-video one that was just somewhere on the video rental shelves, So yeah, it was great. All right. Do you have a better memory? Have you thought of one?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I'll save it
Halloween
for another
sucks for
question.
Casey.
I have another question for you. I'll ask, and it'll tie
Okay.
into better Halloween memories.
Sounds good. Do we want to do a couple listener ones again, or?
Yeah, let's do whatever we have left for listeners, and maybe a couple more for each other.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Okay, so this one's from Maria Pettinger, friend of
You
the
know
show,
her.
and my girlfriend. She asked us to recast the Scooby Gang with horror icons. I
So
took that as, so what?
I was just gonna say, I think we both read this differently when I first
Yes.
saw this on our notes. You read it as horror characters playing the Scooby Gang, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like Michael, Freddy. Yeah. Putting them
Okay.
into the archetypal. Yeah.
hmm I read it as horror icons, as in the actors portraying them as the Scooby Gang. So I'm gonna try my best at that.
Okay. Okay. So I'm doing characters. Casey's doing actors.
hmm
I've been thinking about mine a little bit. So my ghost face is obviously like Shaggy's gonna be Ghostface, obviously. And he's gonna be played by Matthew Lillard.
Okay. By
Easy option, I know, but
Stumacher.
yeah, it's gonna be Stu Macher
Stumacher.
as
Shaggy.
Stu Macher as Shaggy.
Okay.
Should I just cast all ghost faces? And Debbie Salt is Daphne. Shaggy's no wait, no.
Mother.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, my Velma is gonna be Mary Lou, the hellish prom queen from Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou.
All right.
I don't know why it's my Velma. She's a brunette and she's psychotic. And if you watch the horrible HBO Velma series, Velma's psychotic in that too. So
Yeah.
it works. So yeah, you've got Mary Lou and Ghostface. They're like smoking pot in the back of the mystery machine with I'm gonna do something weird.
Okay.
Okay.
I was like, what's happening?
They're not in the mystery machine.
Oh no.
They're in Christine.
Okay.
Christine is the mystery machine. And then Fred.
Yep.
Fred is gonna be Michael because Michael drives. And so does Fred.
He does.
And
That's
and that's the only thing that either of them are good for.
Does
So
Michael wear a little ascot?
Yeah, Michael wears
in
a
his
little
jumpsuit,
ascot under
in his jumpsuit.
in his jumpsuit underneath his mask. And then that just leaves my Daphne. God, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Whatever Rebecca Gayhart's character from Urban Legend is. That's my Daphne.
All right. Yeah.
You have to have all psychos, right? And then who's my Scooby? You do your cast while I think of a Scooby.
Okay. I'm gonna try my best here to do horror icons as the Scooby Gang.
This reminds me of fan slashing when we did Slash Slot.
Okay. I gotta think of some because this was tough to think of. First of all, I want Bruce Campbell as Fred Jones.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So the story I'm coming up with in my head is like the mystery gang years later. Like
Okay.
they're older, they're about to retire. This is one last ride. the they're going on together. The mystery machine's about to break down. It's on its last legs. Fred hasn't taken care of it in all these years. Bruce Campbell's going to play Fred Jones. Shaggy. I'm going to come back to Shaggy because I got to think of someone good for Shaggy. Daphne, I'm going to say stayed rich. Maybe took over like her dad's business or something after all these years. Jamie Lee Curtis is going to play Daphne.
Hell yeah.
And she's going to just make fun of Fred for, we're going to have an Ash situation where he's gained some weight. He's not the same Fred he used to be.
So this is like modern day of these actors. Yes.
Oh yeah. This is this movie's going to happen next year. Type of situation. Then I don't know who I'm going to have for Shaggy. Velma Dinkley. I'm going to have Heather Langenkamp play Velma. I think she would pull it off. Shaggy. I'm gonna have. You know what? I'm gonna just throw a name out there. I'm gonna have Mark Patton from Nightmare on Elm Street 2 play Shaggy. And this is gonna be a darker version because Scooby has died.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So like the levity.
All Norman Bates have like a dog skeleton in the back.
No, it's a stuff. You got Scooby stuffed.
You got Scooby stuffed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. It's a kind of almost like a post-apocalyptic one last ride with the Mystery Inc. gang. Bruce Campbell, Fred Jones, Jamie Lee Curtis as Daphne, Heather Langenkamp as Velma, and Mark Patton as Shaggy. Yeah.
Oh, God, I was missing the one right in the face.
Okay.
Rebecca Gayheart isn't my Daphne. Carrie White is. Duh. She's a fiery redhead who loves pretty dresses and killing people. It's Daphne in a nutshell.
Yep. Who's Scooby? How is this going to work?
Gizmo from Gremlins. I'm foregoing the dog entirely. It's going to be Gizmo.
It's not going to be Cujo?
No, I thought about Cujo, but I'm like, that's too on the nose. So it's going to be Gizmo. You have to have at least one cute, non-psychotic one in the group.
The dog from Bad Moon.
I thought about that too.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
All right.
The dog from what's his face from Prey.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the dog's name is, but he's cool.
I don't remember either. All right, what do we got next? Right.
This is a good one. This is from our friend Tarek, who ran sound on a short film we did last summer that we're going to redo this summer. Tarek asked us, for someone who's new to horror, what are 3 to 5 movies you'd recommend to get them started?
Mm-hmm.
This is a good question.
It is. And I'm going to take the question as literal as possible. I'm going to go with about our age. Let's say you're our age trying to get into horror movies for the first time. Not like when you're a kid and you watch like we said, Ghostbusters or Hocus Pocus to get into it. Nowadays, if you're a movie fan and you're trying to get into horror, 3 to 5 movies.
Yeah.
I would say John Carpenter's Halloween is a must to get into horror movies. I would also throw in Wes Craven's Scream. I would say those two are a perfect back-to-back. Get your introduction to slashers and then your meta take right after. Yeah. There's enough in there that you'll pick up. You already know some of the mythologies of other horror movies that are thrown in there. I would say The Exorcist. I'm a little less positive because I could see people nowadays saying that's too slow. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I would say The Exorcist is a must.
Yeah.
As far as modern horror, I would throw in The Conjuring
Yeah.
to get a modern take. And then I would throw in, if you're gonna watch a classic, you're gonna go back to Universal Monsters, I would say Frankenstein.
Your thought process is a lot like mine. Um, we might have some overlap on this one, but I'll try and list off a couple movies you didn't, because I agree with everything you said there. My first two thoughts were Halloween and Scream,
Hmm.
but I'm also a big slasher person. I know you are too, and like I know I lean heavier into that subgenre than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think the first Halloween especially subverts that of being
yeah,
just a slasher where there's so much suspense in that movie.
yeah. I think, man, okay, so I know this is a weird one to like start someone off in, but like I feel like I would recommend someone who is new to horror try Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives. I think that's just like a
Hmm.
fun slasher to get people started on. It's not very gory. There's not a lot of like hardcore stuff in it, but you get the tense set pieces, you get the cool kills, you get the shots. Um and it's just a fucking fun good time, you know?
Hmm.
It kind of gives you everything you need to know about Jason in that movie.
Yeah.
It catches you up to speed pretty quick. Um so yeah, Jason Lives. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 92's Candyman. I think that's an important movie. I like that one. Um, that was one of my earliest horror memories, and I feel like that. Um, on the flip side of like Jason Lives just being a fun kind of throwaway movie, that one kind of shows you that horror can have a lot to say
Hmm.
and can say it in very brutal and surprising ways. Um, yeah, and I think if I was gonna go, honestly, I would recommend Chopping Mall to just about anybody. Like I do recommend Chopping Mall to anybody. Like Chopping Mall would be on my list. I'm not even kidding. I'd be like, yeah, if you want something fun, like if you want to see what like an 80s B movie can be, Chopping Mall's your flick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Night of the Creeps. Just so you have some Tom Atkins action. And you know what? I'm allowed at least five. So I'm gonna go also with another Carpenter one that I think is underrated, that I think is great for getting people into horror. I would go with The Fog.
Hmm.
It's got a little bit of the slasher element, but it's also a ghost story. I think it checks a couple boxes, and I think it's a very underrated one in his filmography. I like that one a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's almost what 10 movies for someone to
Hmm.
look at if they wanted to get into horror.
Yeah.
If we have any non-horror people watching this show, that's a good list.
I think that is a pretty good list. You're gonna get a lot of mixture of horror in that.
Yeah, I think I leaned heavily into the 80s, but let's be honest,
It's the
that's my
golden
favorite.
age of. I
It's the
mean, it's the
golden
golden age of
age.
horror movies.
Yeah. Especially if you're a slasher fan. Um, but yeah, like we said, we already kind of talked about all the pre-71 stuff too. So like
Yeah.
there's a bevy to choose from there too.
There's a bunch. There's some James Whale. There's some Ed Wood you can watch in there. They're about the same level of filmmaker.
I don't agree with that craziness, but
Okay.
I love Ed Wood.
I was just assuming. Maybe I shouldn't assume. Question I have for you then. I think that's it for the questions we've gotten sent into us, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
which thank you everybody who sent us in questions.
yeah,
It was fun to hear them and they were great questions. I
they
had a
were
lot of
great
fun with
questions.
those.
We hope we didn't piss you off with any of our answers though, because they were great questions. The answers
They
weren't
were.
as good as the questions, so
No, we'll do better next time. Practice makes
Same.
perfect. This is our first AMA. We're gonna
No,
be idiots.
I think we did great. It's just that we have horrible taste.
Yeah, we do. We have terrible taste.
We do.
People will realize that.
If they haven't already. You
Yeah.
recommended as the one of the first 5 horror movies they ever watched to watch Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps is good. It gives
I'm
you 50s horror, it gives you 80s horror. It's zombie and slasher. It's alien invasion. It's so
Tom
much
Atkins.
fun. It's Tom Atkins.
I know. I like the movie, but I'm just giving you crap. Question I have for you, since we're in the Halloween horror theme halfway to Halloween,
Yeah.
what's your favorite Halloween costume of all time
What's my favorite Halloween costume of all time
that you've worn on Halloween?
that I've
Or a
worn?
couple, maybe a couple. Because that's where
Well, I'll
my
tell
good
you.
memories come in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll tell you, I wore my pod racing Anakin Skywalker costume for like
Yeah.
3 Halloweens in a row because I loved that one as a kid. Um, but I've always been kind of into like the classic stuff. I always like doing stuff like going as a witch or a vampire or a werewolf. Like I like the classic monsters. I love
Hmm.
like pumpkin head masks. Like um, I have a killer clown. I have a shorty mask from Killer Clowns and a Sam mask from Trick or Treat that I like very much. But yeah, my love of Halloween costumes has always been in like I don't know, finding like piecing together like kind of the generic items at like a spirit Halloween and making something new with it. I've
Hmm.
always loved doing that. So I made a Skele-Wolf for a horror movie in 8th grade. It was literally just a scream robe with a werewolf mask and skeleton gloves.
Yeah.
And I called him the Skele-Wolf, and we shot a whole movie about him
Yeah.
killing a bunch of people in the woods.
The Skele-Wolf.
The Skele-Wolf.
We need to remake that, Sam.
Yeah, we do. We do. I'm sure. I think I still have all that stuff at my parents' place.
Oh yeah.
What about you, man?
I always wanted the movie characters. Like that was my
Yeah.
go-to. Like whenever I went to the probably Walmart to buy a costume. Along with your Star Wars Anakin Skywalker, one of my favorites was I had a Jango Fett costume when
Oh,
Attack of the
that's
Clones came
awesome.
out and thought that was the coolest thing. Um, Speaking of making movies when you were a kid, I made a Star Wars movie in my living room with that.
Did you? That's
Yep.
awesome.
Where I played Jango Fett and I was Anakin Skywalker with like a blanket tied around my shoulders and my lightsaber.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I had in way too young, probably like 4th grade. I was Austin Powers,
Oh, nice.
and no 4th grader should probably be dressing up as Austin Powers, but I did because I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh,
I had the gross
everybody
teeth
in
and
4th grade
everything.
knew Austin
Oh,
Powers.
yeah,
It was all good.
it was so cool. Had the entire getup. I was Napoleon Dynamite one year with the vote for Pedro shirt and the
Yep,
boots and everything. That was cool. As an
that's
adult,
awesome.
one of my favorite ones we've done, we did Jack and Wendy from The Shining one year,
Mm,
and that was cool to do. We did Halloween. I was Michael Myers. Kayla was Laurie Strode. We had her in the first movie Get Up with like the ripped sleeve
oh,
and like the
nice.
knife cut down the sleeve too. That was a really cool one that we did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's probably some of my favorites. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Do you have any other questions you want to throw out there for our?
Yeah, I've got like one that I really was. I'm glad that we're ending on this one tonight
Okay,
because
good
it's
because
an
I don't have
important
any
one.
more.
I feel like this one's a very important one.
All right,
So we talked about how like nothing was off limits with this one. You know,
you
it's an
said that,
ask me. It's an
but
ask
okay.
me anything,
All right,
right?
yeah.
Like, so fuck, Mary, kill, Leprechaun, Pinhead, Chucky.
couldn't even pick the good ones. Just we get Leprechaun, Chucky, and Pinhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to throw a curveball in this. You were expecting Freddie, Michael, Jason.
No. I wasn't expecting anything, Sam.
You weren't expecting this to come up at all.
No, I was not. You marry Leprechaun.
Really?
Yes, he has money.
Oh, man.
He has a big pot of gold.
That's a good point.
And he likes to shine shoes. So your shoes are always going to be clean, and you're going to have money.
That's fair.
Okay, and he's sort of funny. You need a little sense of humor.
Yeah.
Kill Pinhead or Chucky. You got to kill Chucky. He can be annoying. You don't really want him around too long. He's going to be in that doll costume. He's going to be a doll the entire time. You're going to have to carry him around. Like, you can't. Yeah. And then you fuck Pinhead.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
I mean, that's the obvious choice, right?
Yeah, because Pinhead knows, like, Pinhead's DTF, and they're super kinky, too. So, like, yeah.
Sure.
You have some fun with Pinhead.
Yeah, and then he goes away to hell in his body.
Yeah. But I switch. I marry Chucky because he's marriage material.
Is he? I need reasons for both of these.
He has a semi-successful marriage. No, not at all. Not at all. But he's a married man, so it makes sense that he's been through this. He knows what marriage is like. I'm gonna marry Chucky. And I'm gonna kill Leprechaun because even I can kill Leprechaun and steal his money, but Chucky's like, I don't know. I could spend the rest of my life with Chucky. You want to go to bed every night with Leprechaun looking at you? You want to wake up in the morning to see like Leprechaun and his long fingernails like touching your nose to gently wake you up in the morning?
Didn't you get the weird rubber fingers of Chucky?
That's better than no, I don't know. The wrinkly, like the makeup work.
Hey, everybody's got to be loved.
Yeah. So you love Leprechaun and I love Chucky.
I love Leprechaun. That's it. You got everything on this episode, folks.
You got everything.
Everything.
I mean, we answered all the hard stuff.
All of it. To the best of our abilities, and our abilities aren't very good.
I mean, I don't know about you, man. I had a blast doing this.
Yeah,
do it again soon.
This was a ton of fun. Maybe we'll do an actual Halloween Q&A.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it would. Sam, how does this show work? How do we transition to our next part of the show? What is our smooth segue from loving Leprechaun and Chucky to our plugs for the show?
So if you love Leprechaun or Chucky as much as us and you want more like we do with Leprechaun or Chucky, you could subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Anchor, or subscribe to us on YouTube and watch us. And you can see the beautiful Chopping Mall album art that I shared earlier, and Casey's beautiful Fangoria cover that he shared earlier, and our dumb faces when one of us said something ridiculous on this podcast, which happened a lot tonight.
Which was the entire 2-hour runtime.
Yeah.
Well, where else can they find us? I can tell them. I know. It's there. I see it on the screen. I can read those off. I can do it.
Yeah.
You can follow us on the social medias such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can stay up to date on anything, everything. We let you know when a new episode drops every 2 weeks, every other week, every other Friday. You can check out a new episode of Screams from the Basement. We're also on the TikTok. We don't know how that thing works, but we're on it. We're figuring
it out.
It's there if you're on that thing. I don't even understand it. So everybody has to have one, though. It's just how the world works.
It's how China's going to track us all.
If they're not already. Next episode, Conspiracy Podcast. Next podcast, Conspiracy Podcast. All the weird internet conspiracies, the horrors of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Actually, we're not going to do that at all. That sounds awful, and
That sounds terrible.
sounds like we'll get kicked off YouTube for doing that. Instead, I think we can throw this out there. We're going to be talking Renfield.
Yeah.
What the double feature with Renfield is, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll talk after the show because I have ideas, but I'm not going to say them here because we don't want to give people anything that
No.
we're not going to give people fake promises that we can't keep.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
And also, we got to leave you hanging with something.
We got to leave a little something hanging. Sam, do you have anything else you want to throw out there before we end this show?
No, just thanks again to everybody who gave us questions. It was fun. It was a great time. Everybody had great questions. I hope you enjoyed our responses, even as insipid and dumb as some of them were.
They were dumb. They were rambling, but they were us. And I
They
think
were us.
that's all that matters. This is us.
Yeah.
This is Screams from the Basement. Yeah, thank you all again for sending in your questions. This was a ton of fun. A lot of great questions. Ones that actually made me think, which is like no basic questions besides the ones me and Sam asked to each other. That was the only basic ones we sent. Were from us.
You guys came up with better questions than we did.
So thank you for that. Wishing you all a very happy halfway to Halloween. Celebrate it as you choose. Watch horror movies. Go check out all of them. Subscribe to any horror streaming service, any movie streaming service. Buy, rent, whatever you have to do. Just watch more horror movies. Sam, let's wrap this thing up with our little tagline here at the end.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and
sweet screams. Bye.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.